Welcome to the Current Report podcast. I'm Cece Woods, investigative reporter at thecurrentreport.com. Today, I attended a press conference in support of Deputy Trevor Kirk, who was convicted on a Category 1 use of force under the color of authority in February. The jury convicted him of a felony. It was a federal jury, which means that this decision affects law enforcement nationwide. Not just LA County, it affects law enforcement across the country, which is why we are in a dire situation to somehow overturn this verdict. It was heartwarming to see the support for Trevor Kirk, as well as discuss the deputy boycott of Baker-To-Vegas, a huge law enforcement event, and the deputies are using whatever power they have to support this silent protest against LA County Sheriff Robert Luna, who spoon-fed this case to federal authorities. Sheriff Robert Luna basically caved to the mob mentality of the activists because an African-American female was resisting arrest. Never at any time was she a victim. She was always a suspect. However, Sheriff Robert Luna, who is a weak leader, not even a leader, just weak, basically caved into the activists who were putting pressure on him and served his own deputy on a silver platter to federal authorities. And under the Biden administration, this was fuel for their fire. This is exactly what they were looking for, to prosecute a cop. And that's what they did. Trevor Kirk was only doing his job. This was a robbery in progress call. This was made by the Winco Marketplace to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And Deputy Kirk, along with his partner, arrived at the scene. And when you arrive at a robbery in progress, you don't know what you're going to get yourself into. The woman, the female, the African-American female, was one of the suspects. She had already assaulted a security officer for Winco Market. Now she's resisting arrest and basically turned her cell phone camera on Deputy Kirk and turned herself into a victim. And that is exactly what this federal jury under the Biden administration saw. They saw a black female being taken down by a white law enforcement officer, a white deputy sheriff, and they couldn't see past that. They couldn't see that she was the suspect. They couldn't see anything other than Deputy Kirk needing to use pepper spray, the lowest use of force, not a gun, pepper spray, to get control of the situation because she was resisting arrest. Today's press conference was a show of unity. And it was heartwarming to see the support the deputies showed by standing behind LASPA President Cesar Romero, Nick Wilson of the Resiliency Project, and former deputy Tom Yu, Trevor Kirk's attorney. Today, I also received information that the suspect in the case where Trevor Kirk was prosecuted, the suspect who was resisting arrest, which led to Deputy Kirk needing to use the pepper spray, is now suing her own attorney, who apparently is taking too much money of the $1.5 million award the county gave her for this incident. An incident where she was the suspect. An incident where the county gave a reward to a suspect who was committing a crime, and in turn, the sheriff of LA County hands the case to the feds to appease the activists. And now this deputy, Trevor Kirk, is facing 10 years in prison. Here are the highlights from today's press conference.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at the LASPA headquarters in the city of Monterey Park. My name is Cesar Romero, and I am the president of LASPA, Los Angeles Professional Sheriff's Association. We are the voice of thousands of deputies throughout the county that put their lives on the line every day to keep our community safe. We're here today because of an injustice that has shaken that has shaken our ranks to its core. The wrongful prosecution of one of our own, Deputy Trevor Kirk, an Army veteran, a good deputy, and even more important, a better human being. I've heard the outrage from our members firsthand, from Palmdale to Compton, from Lancaster to East LA. The deputies are furious. They're angry that a good man who followed his training and responded to a robbery call and did his job is now being dragged through a federal courtroom and hung out to dry as a result. They're angry that this prosecution, fueled by activist pressure and a viral video instead of the facts, threatens their ability to do their job without the fear of them being targeted next. Tomorrow is the start of the Baker-To-Vegas challenge, a tradition that's united law enforcement for decades. But this year, there's over 20 sheriff stations, including our own training bureau, that are boycotting this event. It's a historic stand and a line in the sand, because this isn't just about Trevor, it's about every deputy that wears a badge. The Baker-To-Vegas boycott is significant because it is our way of saying enough is enough. Over 20 stations, roughly half of our county's force, are walking away from this celebrated event to stand with Trevor and his family, who we are grateful are here with us today. This is a sign or signal to the public, to our leaders and our elected officials, that we won't sit quietly while our deputies are persecuted for doing their jobs. This is personal to us. It's about loyalty, it's about justice, and about making sure that our deputies, in a life or death moment, aren't afraid of a courtroom instead of the suspect. I'm proud to introduce two men who will speak next. Nick Wilson, a spokesperson for LASPA, who is also a former law enforcement officer himself, and Tom Yu, who is the attorney for Trevor and fighting this case in the courtroom. They'll tell you more about Trevor and the travesty of this justice. But let me assure you one thing. We will continue and we will fight for Trevor. We won't stop fighting, and we won't be quiet until justice is served. Thank you.
Good morning. Before I begin, on behalf of the Trevor Kirk family, they wanted to express their gratitude to all the deputies that are standing behind me. My name is Nick Wilson, and I am the spokesperson for LASPA. For 13 years, I served as a law enforcement officer, so I understand very well what it means to wear the badge and to face uncertainty on every call. Today, I'm here to talk about Trevor Kirk, a man that I'm proud to call a brother in this profession. Trevor's not just a deputy. He's an Army veteran who served our country with honor. He's a father of two who comes home to his kids after every shift, and a deputy with an outstanding record. I've talked to his partners. Many of them are behind me, who've worked with him. His reputation is impeccable. He's the kind of guy that you want beside you in a tough spot. Calm, professional, and dedicated. But right now, Trevor's facing a battle he should never have faced. All because he responded to a robbery call on June 24th, 2023, and did what he was trained to do. This prosecution sent shockwaves through the entire department. And as Cesar mentioned, we hear it from deputies across LA County every single day. They're second guessing every move. And when you're facing a combative suspect who may be armed, maybe not, you've got split seconds to act. But now deputies are asking themselves that if I defend myself or the public, will I end up like Trevor, facing federal charges and a 10-year prison sentence? That hesitation is dangerous. It could cost a deputy their life, and it could cost a member of the community their life. Trevor's case isn't just about him, it's about every deputy who risks their lives every day to protect a society of strangers. It's about a ripple effect. Morale in this department is plummeting. Deputies feel abandoned, like the system has turned its back on them. And when over 20 stations boycott Baker-To-Vegas, it's not just a cry for help. And when over 20 stations boycott Baker-To-Vegas, it's not just a protest, it's a cry for help from a profession that is under siege. Trevor's a hero. He's not a criminal. He used minimal force, pepper spray, to subdue a suspect who would not comply with his orders. He called for medics within 1 second to respond after taking the suspect into custody. That's not excessive, that's restraint. Yet he's in the crosshairs. To smear a deputy, to cave to mob pressure, and bring a politically driven prosecution while the real suspect walks free and cashes a taxpayer-funded settlement check isn't justice, it's a disgrace. This entire case is upside down. Unfortunately, when the Sheriff's Department referred this to the FBI instead of defending one of its own, it sent a message that you're on your own. This is not leadership. This prosecution isn't just an attack on Trevor Kirk. It's an attack on all law enforcement, on every deputy who steps into the chaos to protect us. Like every deputy, Trevor Kirk accepted the risks, the scrutiny, and the sacrifice that comes with wearing this badge. But we will not stay silent when one of our own is unjustly targeted, stripped of their career, and wrongfully convicted for doing their job. This is not how the criminal justice system is supposed to work. It failed Trevor Kirk, it failed the brave men and women of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and it failed the people of LA County. We're not giving up, and we're certainly not going to give up on Deputy Trevor Kirk. We're hopeful. We're hopeful that the verdict will be overturned, and we are hopeful that the new administration, including President Donald Trump, who stood by law enforcement, along with the new appointees at the Department of Justice, will take a hard look at this case. It deserves real consideration, not political vendettas. Trevor Kirk deserves justice. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I want to first thank everyone for being here. I want to thank each and everyone for covering this story. This is an important moment for Deputy Trevor Kirk, but most importantly, I want to thank to the men and women that's standing behind me, because most of them showed up at Trevor Kirk's trial, and they came from Lancaster, Palmdale, and the Antelope Valley to drive to downtown LA every day to support their colleagues. And I think this moment right here, the day before Baker-To-Vegas race, is also very vital, because these folks and the people that boycotted the race is sending a message to our sheriff to say that we're going to stand behind Deputy Kirk. I want to cover a little bit about what is going on and how the boycott is affecting the Sheriff's Department's morale. Number one, the Baker-To-Vegas run is a vital piece to law enforcement. It's an international race. There's folks from Australia, Germany, and Brazil that goes over to attend this race. For the men and women who boycott this race, it is sending a message to the sheriff and to the community that we're all going to stand behind Deputy Kirk despite the conviction that occurred in February. Where we are in the case today is we have filed a motion with the court to vacate the guilty verdict, and we're hopeful that the judge will vacate and acquit Trevor Kirk. In the federal rules of criminal procedure, a judge is allowed to and is empowered to use his discretion or her discretion to acquit a defendant who's been convicted. And the reason for these rules and these motions that we filed is because we feel that Trevor Kirk is completely innocent of the charges. We stand behind him. The procedural issues with the case I'm not really going to go into, but we all know that on this date in June of 2023, my client responded to a robbery call, and the suspect involved in that call was identified. Deputies respond to robbery calls every day, and Deputy Kirk used the minimum amount of force, which is a Category 1 force, meaning this case should have even never went to the Internal Affairs Bureau. This case was an in-house, unit-level investigation by a sergeant. However, in July of 2023, Sheriff Luna, under a lot of political pressure, referred the case to the United States Department of Justice. It was on July 19, 2023. He ordered the Division Chief of Professional Standards and then to the Internal Criminal Investigation Bureau's captain. That case was delivered to the Department of Justice, and they ran with the case, indicted my client. Unfortunately, he was convicted in February of this year. We believe that he's completely innocent of the charges. I voice what Nick and Cesar has said is that we will support Trevor throughout this endeavor. The motion is on calendar for the court to consider. We filed our papers. The United States Department of Justice filed their opposition. But we're hoping that this new administration will look at the weaponization of the Justice Department under the Biden administration of what they did to this deputy for simply doing his job. But I want to voice again my gratitude on behalf of Deputy Trevor Kirk, the overwhelming support that we've gotten, not only from these folks, but from everyone across the country. We've gotten emails and messages from people in New York, Idaho, and other part of this country that also voice their concerns that this case sets a very dangerous precedent for other law enforcement officers in the country. We're very grateful that this battle is now over, and then we will continue to show support for Deputy Kirk until this is over. And I believe if there's any questions.
Yeah, thank you. We'll bring Nick and Cesar back up. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask the group, feel free. We'll take a few and then we'll wrap up. And if you don't have any questions, that's great too.
You mentioned 20 stations are part of the boycott. How many deputies would you say?
So whenever you have a Baker-To-Vegas team, there's runners on that team, which is I think 20 legs. So there's 20 runners, but there's about 30 to 35 support staff that supports the runner. So I would safely say 40 to 50 per team times 20. I think it's more than 20. I think we count about 25 to 26 teams, but includes training bureau, which is the very entity that trains its personnel, the academy, and the other facets within the training bureau.
What impact do you think this will have on the competition itself?
On the Baker-Vegas competition, I think it's going to overall. I think if you have half of the stations from the sheriff's department that's not going, I think that's going to poke a hole into the overall race, because now you have less competition for the entirety of the race, because some of these runners have been training all year and they're ranked in the higher spectrum of the they rank by your time, by your running time. So I think it's going to impact the race.
And then what message do you want to get across by having this boycott?
The message is that the deputies are fed up with what's going on, and especially with their partner, Deputy Trevor Kirk. This boycott is emblematic of a much broader issue going on right now within the Sheriff's Department and the leadership that has driven the department into the ground. This boycott is the only thing that deputies can actually do within their sphere of control that does not harm the public. This is a statement that is going to be heard very loud and clear that the deputies are not okay with the malicious prosecution of their partner, Deputy Trevor Kirk. Our deputies are heroes, and so is Deputy Trevor Kirk.
And then ultimately, what is the outcome that you would like to see?
Well, that the charges against Deputy Trevor Kirk are dropped and that the war on our deputies ends.